This is my mother. She is a wonder. At the age of 70, her voice is as clear and powerful as it was when she was young. Her talent as a singer has largely gone unnoticed by the world at large, but those who know her well place her among the truly gifted. I remember as a child she would tell me that her voice was her gift from God. I have never doubted. Kyoung-Ah Kim Oh was born March 3, 1940 in Xinjiang, China, the youngest of 5 children with 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. At the age of 5, her family moved to Busan, Korea, and eventually settled in Seoul, where she would stay through her youth. My mother and her 2 sisters have always been close. The 3 of them are best friends, and though great distance separates them, they have always shared a sisterly bond that seems to only get stronger with time. My mother also has 2 brothers. Her second oldest brother, whom she loved dearly, passed away in his early 40s. It was through his example and introduction that she was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1960. The story of her oldest brother, the eldest of the family, is an unusual part of our family history. June 25, 1950 is a date our parents and millions of Koreans will never forget. On this day, North Korean troops crossed the 38th parallel on the Korean peninsula, invading the South and starting what would become the Korean War. In this year came the last time my mother saw her oldest brother, when in the still of the night, he was taken away by the North Korean army, never to be seen again. It wasn't until the year 2000 that my siblings and I even knew we had a second uncle. With some cooperation between North and South Korea, families were temporarily united under the auspices of the International Red Cross. And in 2001, after several lottery attempts, my mother, sisters, and her oldest brother were finally reunited after 50 years apart. Though we will likely never meet our uncle, we do know that he is a science professor teaching at a North Korean university, and we have 4 more cousins. In 1964, my mother graduated with a degree in classical music from Yonsei University, where she had been given a scholarship for her singing ability. From 1964 to 1968, she taught music at a high school in Kimei and continued to train and maintain her voice. As an accomplished singer and young teacher, my mother was considered to be quite the catch and was pursued by every man that had an ounce of courage to even approach her. However, it was this man, my father, Kyoung-Ah, who in 1967 won her hand in marriage. In the words of my mother, "Really, I didn't like him, but he kept coming and waiting and he bothered me so much. Finally, I just say, okay." In 1969, she arrived in the US, where my father was already studying in Provo, Utah at Brigham Young University. From there, they would begin their family, then eventually move to Seattle, Washington, where my father would pursue a doctorate of education. After 3 children, the dream to sing was still very much alive, and in 1978, 1 year after I was born, my mother started a master's program in music at the University of Washington. Though my mother didn't finish the program, it was at this time that she met a teacher that would have the greatest impact on her musical career. Mrs. Mary Curtis Verna is a former New York Metropolitan Opera singer and Professor Emeritus of Music at the University of Washington. She was my mother's instructor for over 30 years and a true mentor. When you ask my mother how it is that she can still sing at the age of 70, she will credit Mrs. Verna for the strength and power of the voice she has today.
Singing opera is the most complicated art there is, because you have to have your breath, your brain, your voice, and she's lucky that the good Lord has given her a beautiful voice.
In January of this year, Mrs. Verna passed away, but not without leaving behind a legacy of music through the lives of all of her students, including my mother. In 1979, my mother, with 10 other musicians, started the Seattle, Washington Korean Music Association, and in October of that year, the organization held its first concert to a large gathering of the Korean community. From then on, the Korean Music Association has held annual spring and fall concerts at either Mini Concert Hall at the University of Washington or at the Seattle Opera House. Funded by generous donations from citizens in the Korean community, during the lifetime of the association, over 100 musicians of all ages have participated as performers. In 2009, the association celebrated its 30th anniversary. To know my mother is to know her voice. In the Korean community, both local and afar, among church friends and among acquaintances, my mother is known as the singer. If not singing to a congregation on a Sunday, or singing to 1,000 people at Mini Hall, my mother and her voice are often called on to entertain at other community events and even in Korea. And this year, she was recognized by the President of the Republic of Korea and the Northwest Asian Weekly for her efforts in music and the Korean community. When asked if she had any regrets in not professionally pursuing music, she said, "Not at all. I have a nice husband, nice children, Kimball and Mia. Even I don't have much money, but I can go to church. Always God is with us. I have music association members. It is fun. We are together. We have each other. Talking about music, laughing, singing. Like sister, brother, son, family, we help each other. And I have good friends. What can I ask for more?" Growing up, her family strongly supported her in her pursuits, even banning her from the kitchen so that she wouldn't get her hands too dirty, because singers need beautiful hands to express their music. It is a wonder how such a beautiful sound comes from such a small woman.